God is not glorified with your false humility. God is not worshipped by your sense of woe is me. God calls you a king and a priest. And when you enter in rags before his throne, and he asks you where the garments are that he provided for you, and you can't show up with them, he's going to throw you out. This is a key to why so many of us are walking in poverty. And I'm not talking physical poverty, I'm talking spiritual poverty. Because it, quite frankly, doesn't matter what you have. It doesn't matter if you are the wealthiest person in the world. If you are spiritually poor, then it's over. You're done. God doesn't call us to that. He calls us to be kings and priests after the order of Melchizedek. That's what it says in Hebrews. What do kings and priests have? They have authority, they have power, they have influence. Do you think that a king, the ruler of everything, is honored when a beggar from the breadline shows up and bows before him? That's expected. But is that same king honored when the king of another dominion, when a ruler, a governor that he has set over a land, comes and worships and says, everything that I have is yours? That brings honor, that brings glory. And that's what God made us for. We're not little peons. That's not who God made us. Throughout Scripture, you see this from the moment that we were created. God says, we're going to make man in our image. And then he says something important. I'm going to give dominion. That is rulership. That's not something that we earned, that was given. And a gift given cannot be taken away. It's ours. What do we do with it? There's a parable that Jesus has about talents, how the ruler gives his servants talents. That's charge, that's dominion over a certain number of his resources. And then they're commanded to go out to do what they want with it. God doesn't give instructions. He says, here you go, here's your dominion. It's up to us what we do with it. What brings honor and glory to him is to go out and multiply it, to go out and create and do new things. And then when we have multiplied it, to bring it back and cast it at the feet of Jesus and say, this is all yours. Because that's what the good servants did. The bad servant was given dominion. He was called evil. He was given dominion over resources, over property. And what did he do with it? Absolutely nothing. He did not work to expand it. He did not work to maintain it. He just let it be. And that's so often what we do. God has given us gifts. He's given us authority and he's given us power. And in our sense of false humility, we turn around and we bury it. Because that can't be from God. That's not our place. And in false humility, we back off from what God has called us to. God calls us to step up. He calls us to be fruitful and multiply. That doesn't just mean have kids. That means being fruitful. That means taking things that didn't exist before and bearing them to fruition. Good things that weren't in this world. Things that we make from other things. It's a creative act. And multiply. It's to take what already exists and to make more of it. It's an exponential increase. That is what God has called us to. He's commanded us to do that. Where? With our dominion. Because God set Adam and Eve in the garden. And then he commanded them to expand the dominion that he gave them. The dominion of the garden. Expand it to the whole earth. Are we doing that or are we sitting back? Because so often I think that as Christians we sit back. We're not doing what God called us to. In Ephesians, he says the Father has given us every good gift, every perfect gift. And why has he given us this? To bring creation into unity with the Father. Are we bringing creation into unity with the Father? Or are we just sitting back and letting the world do things? Are we bringing creation into unity with the Father? Or are we abdicating our gifts? Are we burying the treasures? Are we burying the authority that he gave us? Because Hebrews is post-Jesus, and he calls us kings and priests. Here's also where a lot of people who are using their gifts are getting it wrong. In Revelation, it talks about the throne of judgment, where everybody is going to come forward. And he says, some will sit there and declare, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? Jesus, we did all of these marvelous acts for you. We did them in your name. And Jesus says, depart from me, I never knew you. Why does he say that? Because they were using the power and the authority that they had as a human, but they hadn't submitted themselves to Jesus. They didn't have the relationship. So this is where it divides, okay? You've got three different groups here. One, People who understand power and authority, they understand how it works, and they are using it in this world for their own means. They're working toward their own selfish ends. That's one group. If you're in that group, understand that there's great glory and power. You can even gain more if you submit to Jesus. The second group, they claim Jesus as Lord, but they do not recognize their authority. So you've got two groups here. One, operating under their own authority. Two, pretending to be under Jesus' authority, but never doing anything with the gifts. And the third group, they're people who recognize the authority. They recognize the crown that sits on their head. And they're willing to throw that crown at Jesus' feet whenever he asks. They're willing to give up anything that they have in order to submit and to walk with him. And those people are given even greater power and authority. Because when Jesus sees that they have done good things with the gifts he's given, when they have expanded their dominion, he rewards. And he gives greater gifts. And understand that third group, we all start at a different place. We're not all called to be wealthy. This isn't a health and wealth gospel. This isn't a take what Jesus has given you and make it more. That turns into this. That turns into the first group. What it is take what Jesus gave you, start using it for the kingdom. He wants you to use your gifts to expand his kingdom, not our own kingdom, his kingdom. I'm coming at you hard today because I think this is so critical. We have to understand we are called to walk in power. We are called to walk in authority. And if we just turn around and submit that authority to others, if we just turn around and disregard what God has called us to, he's not going to be proud of us. He's not going to be happy with what we've done. It's true, we might get into heaven. But man, do you want to be a beggar on the streets? Or do you want to have authority? Do you want to have power? Do you want to be a ruler in heaven? That's what we're called to. The choice is now. We're setting ourselves up with what we do here on earth. Whether we receive the authority and the name that Jesus has called us. Because he's called us kings and priests. He's said, I've given you all dominion on this earth. Are you walking in dominion, in authority, in power? Or are you letting the world walk over you? Are you submitting to the world? Are you submitting to Jesus? And in that submission, walking in his power to bring his kingdom to this earth. Which group are you in? I know for the longest time I was in group 2. I personally lived so much of my life not recognizing where I was supposed to be. I thought that being humble, having a sense of humility of woe is me, I'm just a sinner, was the place to be. But it's not. That's not where God called us. God calls us kings, priests. He calls us good. He calls us his children. Jesus says, you're my friends if you obey my commandments. If you submit, you're my friends. Do you want to be a friend of God? One last thing, and then I'm going to wrap this up, because I think this is also important. In Psalms, we see God talking, and he says, come, let us reason together. Are we reasoning together with God? Recognize that the position that God is recognizing you for. This is Old Testament. He's still recognizing the position he gave from the garden. Come, let us reason together. Do you sit down on the couch and look at your dog and say, come, let us reason together? No, because that's not the place that that thing exists. You say, come, let us reason together with something who has reasoning ability, something that can discuss back and forth. You reason together with another king. You reason together with a business partner. And Jesus says, come, let us reason together. What's your gift? I know I've already asked you to introspect once. Which group are you in? Are you in group 1, 2, or 3? I'm going to ask you one more thing. I know this is not what you're supposed to do, and having multiple things to ask people about in a video. I don't care. I feel like this is what God has called us to right now. Reason with Jesus. Ask him what your gifts are. What is the power and the authority that he has given you? Because the power and authority he's given you is different than the power and authority he's given me. Are you going to operate in your domain and then submit that domain to Jesus? Or are you going to bury it? Don't bury it. Walk with Jesus. Submit to him and operate in the kingdom that he has placed you in. And he will bless you. Hey, if you found this thoughtful and encouraging, or at a minimum thought-provoking, feel free to subscribe and follow along. We're going to dive deeper into this and other topics involving identity, involving who Jesus says we are, and involving just what that means in this earth.